Hello, everyone. Brad with Delta Awesome here. And this is where we come to help business leaders change things from normal to awesome. Delta Awesome. And today I want to talk about something that I heard three different times from my community. A lot of people call me with a lot of questions, but it all came down to one thing. When does a founder or a CEO know that they've capped out? When is it time to say enough is enough? I don't have infinite capacity for growth. And let me just tell you, in 8 years, I've only met two people. You know who you are, J and M, that don't have. I haven't seen their natural capacity for growth. This happens in many different ways. Here's the three examples that came to me in the last about 10 days. One was an intergenerational family. Grandpa had handed it off to dad, dad's handing it off to son. Son is somebody I know. Okay. The second one is a small business that somebody did 0 to 1 10 years ago, got up to about 1 million in revenue. That's good for a services company. If you are more in the manufacturing side, a goods company usually is more like the 3 to 4 million, where that initial team starts capping out on their capacity. And then finally was a hypergrowth company where the CEO went from managing 3 people to managing 30. All of these things have something in common. The person who's in charge, the person who is the CEO, hits an inflection point somewhere along the line where they have to decide to make their full time career decision to just being a CEO. For anyone who's been following me for any time at all, I call this the red line work. Red line work, just as a reminder, 4 pieces of red line work. Create and clearly communicate the company vision, make sure the metrics and cap table are working fine, don't run out of money. Trustworthy and stable team and culture, and pathfinding what's next. Now, some people can go to that next level. Doesn't matter if you're going from 30 million to 60 million or going from 300,000 to 600,000. There's always a next level in your company. And that next level always requires a different set of skills and disciplines. You don't do what you do there, what got you here. I know that's a little bit of a complicated thing. This happens, for instance, when I have a CFO become a CEO. They have to immediately learn to not play the game of being a CFO or the salesperson, whatever. So, how do I help people do this? Well, number one, the hardest thing about this is no one is going to tell you you're over your skis except your coach. This is one of those weird things in life where it's hard/impossible for anyone else to speak this truth to you or for you to hear it, both different concepts. And for a coach, it's easy. It's like table stakes. Why is it easy for me? Why is it table stakes for me? Because I'm pushing you to your next level anyway. That's why you hired me. That's why you gave me permission to muck with your soul. That's why you give me some of your time during your work week. That's why you do the homework that we work on together to create for you. You've already asked me to be this person. So then when I am this person, I start looking and saying, hey, are you willing to give up the past, be a little uncomfortable with giving up the current, and be very uncomfortable but moving towards the future state? If not, you kind of have two choices. You can either keep trying that thing, right? Beating your head against the wall, or you can step aside. I recommend everyone at least plan for stepping aside. Why not? It's not going to hurt you to plan for stepping aside. So that's the first piece of advice I give everyone. Plan to step aside. What is your plan? Do you want to become chief strategic officer? Do you want to become chairman of the board? Do you want to take some cash and just be out? Do you want this thing to only, you want to be out, but you can't until these things happen? What is your plan for stepping aside? Which, by the way, is also called succession planning and is also the same thing as taking care of your car like you're going to sell it tomorrow. It's the best way to run the company anyway. Why don't people do this? Because they're terrified to find out that they might not be good enough for the job. But the mind gremlin about that is once you do the homework, if you're not good enough for the job, the exit ramps are so easy and your life is going to be better. That's my job. My job is to help you get over that mental hurdle that you just might not be tall enough and handsome enough, right? And this is another thing that we talk about. I mean, a lot of people, they're designed for one part of a company and not for another. I can't tell you how many innovators that I know who, after a company gets to 30 people, really should not be in charge anymore. Because at about 30 people, now all of a sudden process dictates more than innovation. There's a balance still there, but innovation becomes a side project. And it could be your driving force, but you don't want to do things like innovate double book entry accounting. You don't want to innovate HR policies, but those start mattering more when you have the complexity of a lot of clients or a lot of people. So the first thing is step aside. The second thing I have everyone do when they see a growth pattern is, what is our forecast for the complexity of this company 18 to 24 months from now, or whatever the next meaningful milestone is? I like to talk in terms of full-time employees because the complexity of more humans involved is usually the complexity that drives the company, or at least it's the highest indicator. Might only be 20% of the indicator of how complex it is, but it's the biggest one. And it's the easiest one for people to grasp because if you have 9 employees, you're going to 27. wow, that's a big change. If you're going from 50 to 100, wow, that's a big change. If you're going from 100 to 110, not a big change. Okay. So we forecast what this company is going to look like when our strategic goal is achieved, right? Whatever we've been working on in our strategy sessions. Then we write the job description for that CEO, right? Who cares about the title, but the head person, whoever she is, whoever he is, wherever they are, we write that job description. And then after that job description, we write a traits description. What traits do people have that maximize their chances of being good at that job? Is it having done that job before? Experience? Probably not. Is it education? Maybe, maybe not. Is it network? Almost for surely. Is it the ability to see around corners and pathfind? Yes. Is it the ability to make sure the metrics are good enough and done? Yes. Is it the ability to manage a C-suite instead of be a part of a C-suite? Yes. Is it the ability, is it trusting that you can make team and culture work well with a diverse group of stakeholders, people, and minds? Yes. Okay. What traits are that? Then we do a self assessment. What traits do you have? What traits can you build? Which are skills? Which are nascent capacities? And which are, no, thank you, I'm not good at that. Now, remember, one of my metaphors is we don't have our basketball players race horses, and we don't have our jockeys play basketball. And the reason I use that one, of course, height, being 2, 3 sigmas from the mean, but both people, jockeys and basketball players, can be world famous, can be professional athletes, can be amazing, and have to have their clothes tailored just for them. There are some things that are similar. But being really, really tall or really, really short is almost as difficult in society. But the point being, we're just not going to put one of those people in the other person's shoes. If it's time for you to step down, that's okay. Here's the big flaw in all of this. If you don't have a coach, and I can't understand why any CEO wouldn't have a coach, except they're in love with their blind spots. And that's fine. I meet those people all the time. If you don't have that, who can speak truth to power where power can listen? And you are the power in this one. You may wake up, put your pants on like everyone else, but just because you're titled CEO, founder, or big honcho doesn't mean that people will speak truth to power or you will be receptive to it. You need both of those pieces to work for communication. That's why having a third party whose job it is to do this is so valuable. That's why I got 3 of these inquiries in 10 days because no one could figure out what is the truth of the matter. That's the process we talked about at the beginning of this, and how to communicate that clearly so the right answer can come. Is this person willing to dedicate a significant portion of their time, heart, and soul into becoming the best leader this company needs them to be in the future? Or have they capped out and they have a different desire set? Now, remember, if you cap out, that's not giving up. That is the smart multi round play. Because you move over to being chief strategic officer, you have power and influence, and you have the ability to do your zone of genius. Let some other poor schmuck do the thing that you don't love to do. All you're giving up is an ego hit for the title, and that's not worth it because your job is to steward the entire company's stakeholder group. Holding onto your ego hit is not part of the story. So that's my long-winded rant for should you step aside or not. You need to do the assessment of what stepping aside would look like, succession planning. You need to design for the next CEO and what their job description, character, and traits are going to be for that. Then self-assess or get some help assessing whether you can make it to there and whether you will spend the time and the money. Otherwise, what are you doing? You're treading water. And what is treading water? Nothing but a slow, painful way of drowning. That's my thinking on whether CEO is capped out or not. Thank you for your time.